Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Avoid the Maze. And today I am welcoming back Naden, who is in France right now, across the ocean, far, far away. But yet we are so close as we are here on this podcast on Zoom. So welcome back. And we were talking.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. We were talking.
Nice to see you and to be here. Thank you.
We were talking before we got started about what success really means. And again, when I read your bio, you lost everything and then found a way back to becoming successful. And a lot of people feel that success is measured in how much they have. And I have a lot of stuff, but it doesn't necessarily make me successful. In fact, my husband and I have been debating, how do we get a lot of this stuff out of my studio? Because we've got things that go back 20 years that are just collecting dust. So to me, that is not success. Yeah.
You'll get rid of it fast that way. That's what I did.
Well,
cleaned me out.
Yeah. I'm going to hold on to this one. We've been married a little over 38 years. So he's a good one. But you're right. Okay. That is one way to get rid of a lot of things. But help us understand what success meant to you when you lost so much. How did you even see the positivity of getting back on your feet?
Well, I had to, really. And I mean, it was certainly difficult at the time. But, you know, every crisis that you face in your life is there for a reason. And it's there. You can either look at it as a negative event that is going to drag you down and ruin your life, if you like, depending on what it is. Or there's always a flip side. There's always a positive to everything that happens in your life. And even though it might appear a disaster or something that has got no positive side, there must be a positive side there. And for me, it was one of the greatest gifts that I've ever had, because that's why I'm talking to you now. It made such a positive impact on my life in terms of changing me to discovering what real success actually is, as opposed to the path I'd been going along, which certainly wasn't making me happy. Because, you know, one of the really, if you like, frustrating things for me, or not so much frustrating, but challenging things for me, is to see how much misinformation we've all been fed throughout our life about pretty well everything. You know, we've all been told pretty much everything that simply isn't true. And that's one of the reasons, it's probably the main reason, why very, very few people are actually living to their full potential, because we haven't been told how to live to your true potential, and even the fact that you are supposed to live to your true potential. And this whole idea of success is just one of those things that once you start going just a little bit below the surface to what you're told and really examine it and do a little bit of research, you don't need to do a lot, you just do a little bit about everything you've been taught, but in particular about this word success, you find that everything you've been told is not true. Because I can give you a definition of success that I found, but it's not my definition of success. This is the definition that all of science tells you is the meaning of success, because there are various levels of success. One is biological success. We are biological beings. We live in a physical biological world. So what is biological success? And science has definitely come up with a clear understanding and definition of what biological success is. Okay, so then do you want to talk about what spiritual success is? Religion has come up with a very clear definition to what spiritual success is. How about mental and emotional success? Psychology has come up with a very clear definition of what success is as well. So all of these ideas that people are running around with about and saying, you know, some people say, well, everybody has a different definition of success. You might have what you think is a definition of success, but it's not actually the true definition. And if you were to combine all of what science says about biological success, all of what religion says about spiritual success, and all of what psychology says about mental and emotional success, comes down to one thing. That is, success is being happy. That's the definition. And when you really think about it, you know that's true, because whenever anyone says, oh, everyone's got a different definition of success, what is everyone's definition of success? What they are saying is, success to me is having whatever it is, because that will make me happy. Everybody actually wants the same thing. We all want to be happy. And we think that by getting something, which means success, whether it's the house, the relationship, the family, the business, the career, whatever it is, we say that is success. But no, you don't want those things for what they are. You want them for how they make you feel. You want them because you think when you get it, it's going to make you happy. So
and we're
that's the only
talking about
definition of success that exists: being happy. That's it. If
and
you're happy, you are successful. If you're not, you're not.
And we're talking about this at the perfect time of year, if you think about it, with the holidays coming up. Okay. We all want to be happy. And especially here in the United States, in the next couple weeks, it's Thanksgiving. And everybody thinks that the best thing for Thanksgiving is you get together with your family and friends and you have this big, wonderful dinner and everything goes perfectly. And then you're going to be happy. But the reality of it is, most of us who do that, it's not that wonderful of an experience sometimes. All the preparation.
Stressful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we sit down the day after and we go, what was that all about? And yet, if we don't celebrate that way, then we feel let down. I'm not successful. I don't have the family to do it with. I don't have the friends. I don't have the money. And I've been looking at this very deeply for the last couple of years and saying to myself that, waking up every day is successful for me. I've had some health issues, none that that were causing me to think that I wasn't going to make it day to day. But it's a wonderful feeling to get up each day, be happy, and look forward to doing what I do. That is my success.
Well, that is the perfect definition. You're just describing exactly what I'm saying. You are being happy in the moment, here and now. But you mentioned an interesting thing, which is about, we all have these ideas about what we have to be successful. And as you know from last time, most of my work is about examining how we function, how we get what we really get in our life, why we get the things that we do, both what we want and what we don't want. And it all comes down to how we use this machine that we've been given to survive and thrive, called our brain, which is designed to give us the best chance of survival, to ensure that we do everything we need to do and have everything we need to have to be the best version of ourselves, so that we have the best chance for survival. It's a biological purpose that our brain has. But here's the thing. Your brain is, because it's a machine, it's very easy to be manipulated and controlled. And what is the thing? In human behavior, I've done a lot of research into human behavior and how the brain works and how the brain is influenced. But I'm not a patch on the neuroscientists around the world who are all employed. Someone told me recently, they said, did you know that the greatest neuroscientists in the world, people who understand the human brain, the people who understand human behavior, are all employed by governments and large corporations. Wow. So they know there's a huge, and this has gone back decades, if not longer, people in power or people in control, who are people who want you to do something, they know the easiest way to do that is to understand how the brain works and how to get people to behave in a certain way. And if you look at all advertising or all influence, if you like, it's about telling you that where you are isn't good enough, that there's a gap, between where you are and where they tell you you will be happy.
Exactly.
So it's like, you will be happy when you buy this holiday, or when you buy this car, or when you live in a bigger home, you know. And marketing, all of marketing, and I've done a lot of marketing study over the years. It's all designed to make you feel unhappy where you are, so that you feel this urge to find the solution in what they're offering. And what has Thanksgiving in your culture and Christmas and all of these things? What is this overwhelming blueprint image picture we have about how they should be? It's all about happy families and everything's going beautifully, and the smiling children and the wonders of life. Now that's a gap that they create, because they create something that's actually impossible to achieve. A lot of my work I do is as a marriage and relationship coach, and that's probably one of the worst areas, where we've all been conditioned to believe that there is this fantasy about what a happy marriage is.
Sure.
We see it in the films, we see it in advertising, mum and dad and the kids, and with the grandparents sitting on the porch in their twilight years, being really content about a wonderful family and life. That is just not reality. But what it does, by creating this gap, it has everybody racing after and chasing after this illusion that they can never achieve. And what do? Well, they spend lots of money. They buy people's products. They buy into all this sort of stuff. And that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to get you to become a consumer, to have more stuff, and to do more things, and to keep thinking, I need more. I need to be more. I need to learn more. I need to do more. I need to have more than what I've actually got. And what's that a permanent state of? Unhappiness. Because you can never have enough. If you are programming your brain, or if you've programmed your brain to think you always need more to be happy, and you'll never be happy unless you have more, well, you'll never be happy, and you'll never have enough, even if you have everything on the planet. And it even says in the Bible, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And it's the same thing. So we have to be mindful of this, if you forgive the pun about the brain, that all of this stuff about keeping us unhappy, and all of these expectations that are out there about what happiness might look like, or what it should look like, this is just a process of marketing. It's not the truth.
And I love this conversation, because I was talking to somebody the other day, and she happens to be going through a divorce, and she said, "You and your husband have been married 38 years. You must have the happiest marriage." And I said, "We have a good marriage, but it's not always happy. There are some sad times. There are times that the two of us just have to go in separate directions, because we're human. Nothing is perfect, but we work at, finding those common things that do make us happy, that make us content." So happiness is not something that you live with 24/7. And the sooner we start to realize that, it's like Christmas morning, you wake up and there's a bow on this beautiful car in your driveway. Oh, that's exactly what you wanted. It's beautiful. It's expensive. You feel great. But 10 minutes later, that gift is just sitting there. And now you're like, what happens next? I got a car. It's beautiful. It's expensive. But what now? And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. It's never enough, because you keep wanting more and more and more. So how do we learn to be content, to have enough?
Well, the way we do that is understand how our brain works, and why our brain is preventing us from being happy. And I don't know if you recall from last time, but I have a model for how the brain works. But one of the essential things to realize, and again, nobody has really thought about this stuff, because you with all due respect, you raise another, if you like, false thing that we think is true, which is you can't be happy all of the time. Now, why not? Where did that idea come from, that you can't be happy all of the time? Because biologically, You are actually designed to be happy all of the time. Nature or science has a word for that. It's called homeostasis. Homeostasis means the perfect and optimal functioning of an organism. And for a human being, that means when all of your bodily organs are working to the best they can, all of your bodily systems are working to the best they can, but it's also when your mental, emotional, and spiritual state is being the best that it can. And what does that mean? That means being happy. Because when you are happy, you are at your best. That's when you feel creative. That's when you come up with good ideas. That's when you make good decisions. That's when you're motivated to do things. That's when everything is going well in your life. You're feeling grateful, loving, you're contributing to others. You're being in a happy state. And this is our natural biological state that we're designed to live in virtually all of the time, because that's the state that gives us the greatest chance for survival. It's biological. But there's only one time you're not supposed to feel like that, and that is when you are presented with a threat to your survival. So a lion comes running out of the jungle, or a car comes swerving towards you, and what do then? You don't feel happy, you feel fear, or you feel stress, worry, and anxiety. And all of those things, fear, stress, worry, and anxiety, is a trigger that your brain creates to say, you're faced with an immediate threat or danger, stop being happy, stop being creative, and react to get rid of this threat or this danger straight away. So if it's something coming at you, you jump out of the way, or you if it's something that might attack you, you fight back, or you shout for help. These are all automatic responses. But our natural state of biological existence should be living in our natural creative state, feeling happy, grateful, loving, doing all those good things, being in our perfect state, except when we have a threat that comes along that might kill us. And then we can activate fear, stress, worry, and anxiety to react and deal with that threat. But the problem is, for whatever reason, we're not using our brains the right way, and our brain is telling us there's lions everywhere, there's cars about to hit us everywhere. And it's simply not true. It's just a trick of the brain. So you can feel happy all the time, and you can use your brain the right way, the way it was designed to be used, which is just to feel fear and stress when something comes at you, which, let's face it, in this day and age, there aren't many lions wandering around. Our brains were designed when there were lots of lions. There are no threats to our survival. They're all in our imagination. We watch something on the television and we think something's going to, there's a world war going to start, or there's some disease that's going to wipe everyone out, or the seawater's rising, or all of this nonsense that simply isn't true. It's not an immediate threat to your survival, but your brain is telling you that it is. And it's because of the way it's set up that, as I mentioned before about controlling human behavior, if you like, to make you feel bad. Because when you feel bad, you're going to be disempowered. You're not going to see the truth, and you're going to do what people tell you to do. Buy my product, vote for me, whatever it is. Someone else says, okay, sure. When you're in a fearful state, your brain makes you do these things.
So what do you say?
This is one of these things.
Yeah. What do you say to the person who maybe lives in an area, and just for conversation now, I'm going to use, they live in Ukraine. They're in a state of fear. Okay. So you can't be happy in the middle of a war-torn country. So how do you?
Why not?
I don't know. It doesn't seem. I don't think it's possible.
Can I ask you why don't you think it's possible? How do you know people in Ukraine aren't happy? Have you been there to look, or are you watching something on a screen where someone is giving you the idea that that's what's going on? They're trying to get you to believe that that's what's happening. Now, whether it's true or not, you don't know, because all you know is that this whatever they're trying to tell you is telling you that it's true, but you don't know if it's true or not. You haven't personally experienced it. And one of the things if you want to talk about war, or the media or whatever, without getting down the rabbit hole of things that make me sound like a conspiracy theorist, which really is somebody who just wants to find out the truth. All wars come with an information war, a propaganda war, and every side who's fought a war, one of the main things they have to do is convince the people on their side that they're the good guys. and that everybody else is the bad guys and they're suffering. You go back to the Crusades, you go back to the Roman Empire, you go back to any war through history, it's the same thing. We're the good guys, and these are all these terrible things that are happening. And you go to the other side, and they're saying the same thing, and they have a completely different view of the truth of what's going on. And fortunately, these days, we have an independent media. It's all censored heavily, but there are people around who know what's going on about what you talk about Ukraine or whatever it might be. But so it is possible to find out, and they're saying very different things to what you hear mainstream people telling you, because they want you to believe a certain thing. They want you to be on our side. They want you to think the Russians or whoever it is the enemy and they're these terrible people. But it's not the truth. It's just what you're being told. And more people are realizing, and I'm, this is what I do when I help people start to use their brain the right way. You can see what's going on. Most of what we're told throughout history is not true. Really. It's just what people have told us to think that it is true. For some particular agenda.
And it's interesting you say that, because my son is a history buff, and we were talking about, I don't even know what subject of history we were talking about, but he said to me, it didn't really happen the way it's written in the history books. And I said, well, how would you know that? And he said, because I've been researching it. And when he started explaining it to me, it's like, oh, so somebody created this story about an incident, and it now got into a book, and now that's what we're teaching, because it just seems the thing to do. People want to know what happened in that era, so somebody wrote the story, and now we're repeating it over and over again.
And it becomes accepted as the truth. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when you would be killed if you went against the truth that the world was flat, or that the sun revolved around the earth and all the planets revolved around the earth. You would be killed if you said that wasn't true. But we know it wasn't true, but that was what everybody believed at the time. So how do we know that anything of what everybody believes now is true? Because it literally, as you say, you do a little bit of research and get away from people who want you to believe a certain thing, so they might cook up a bit of, or come up with a bit of evidence to say this is the truth. Again, this has been done throughout history. It's not a new thing. And it's always proven not to have been true. And as you say, what's written in the history book? Somebody's come up with and said, this is what happened. Okay. And then everyone believes it. Very, very few people do any research on anything. And that's the beauty about using your brain the right way. You start to see and question things and say, I wonder if that actually is true. There's nothing wrong with an opinion, but but when you really think about it, if you don't really know any more than what someone else has told you, well, are you qualified to even say that's the truth?
So as I'm listening to this conversation today, which is, sparking lots of questions, and I'm sure many of our listeners are going to think like, wait a second, there's got to be a truth. How do I find that truth? Even if I go research it, am I going to really find it if I didn't experience it? And even if I did experience it, is my mind retelling it in the right way?
Well, the way to find the truth is to get into the biological state where the truth is revealed to you. And that is your natural success state. You have to use your brain in the right way, because your brain sees the truth. You've clouded it through your fear, not you, but one. Sure. This is what we do. When you feel fear and anxiety, your brain is not able to see the truth about anything. Your brain is in a shutdown, it's what we call activating the sympathetic nervous system. It's a very limited brain state designed for one thing, and that is to see the lion coming running at you and jump out of the way. That's all it can see. It's not designed to let you even see anything else like the trees and the forest. It's just got you focused on getting rid of this danger, because your brain in that state is saying there is a danger right in front of you that you need to react to. Block out everything else. So when you realize that there is no lion there, but all it's doing is looking for a lion and it's not looking for anything else. When you switch your brain state to the way it's designed to be naturally used, using your creative brain state, which is only activated when you don't feel fear, stress, worry, and anxiety. That's the only way it can operate for you. Then you see the big picture. And the big picture means a lot of things. It means, firstly, not focusing on things that you have no control over, are completely irrelevant to your life and won't help you. And that is what, unfortunately, most people are focused on. And that's why they're so disempowered. Your brain will get you to focus on things that do help you, making the right decisions to improve your life. And it will also give you a perspective about what you need in your life to be happy and where you need to be and what you need to be doing. You know, people spend all this time trying to figure out what they should have, what they want, you know, setting goals. And I'm going to come up with a goals list and I'm going to write it all down and I'm going to figure all the stuff out. But the figuring out is using the wrong part of your brain. That's using another part of your brain called your thinking brain. But your thinking brain is not designed to figure out what you need for your life. That's what your creative brain does. And that's where you get your gut feelings and your instincts and your intuition and good ideas, but there's no fear attached to it. So you just find the right things are happening for you in your life. You're not having to try and figure out and struggle and be all stressed and worried and be upset when you get it and you think, as you said, meant with the car, well, it didn't really make me that happy anyway. So, but maybe that's what life is. Life's a struggle and you can't be happy all the time. And, you know, you know, this is all nonsense. It's all created by our brain. There's lies that our brain believes when it's in this negative, limited state.
So I had a guest on yesterday morning, and her vision of success and happiness is that we all need to create vision boards. I've never created a vision board. Maybe in my head I have to some degree. I've set goals and tasks for myself, and I've had stickies all over this office, and I follow them, and then I pull them down and throw them in the garbage. But isn't a vision board more of something that has been commercialized in our heads? What
Well,
do
you
you
know,
think?
the whole goal setting industry, and this isn't to, you know, tread on the toes of anybody who is working in this field, because that's not my intention at all. I mean,
Sure,
some wonderful people. I'm sure the person you were speaking to is a wonderful person. I just have researched things in a different way because I
sure,
spent decades doing goal setting, doing vision boards and writing things out. I mean, I used to go to seminars and people would say, well, the way to get your goals is you record your voice onto a tape and you say, I have this, and and you visualize, and I did all of that. I had in those days a tape that I made for myself, and I listened to it for hours a day for months. And none of that stuff really worked for me. And it was only when I lost everything and then rebuilt my life and started to figure out how we really get the results we do and realized that goal setting, I'm sorry to say, if people are honest, it doesn't work. You know, you think for yourself, what percentage of the goals that you set for yourself have you achieved? Would it be 90%, 80%,
no,
85? How about
much lower.
2%,
Yeah.
3%? That's the research. There's a lot of new research coming out about this actually to show that goals are self-sabotage. And literally people only do achieve 2 or 3% of the goals they set if they're lucky. Now, I don't know about you, but if I went to a heart surgeon and said, I need a heart operation, what's your success rate? And he said 2%, I'd say, I'm going to find someone else.
Right.
You know, if it's not working, let's be honest about it. It's not working. And let's say, whatever this is all about, if it's not working, if we're not getting the results, then it can't be right. And that's the whole problem with goal setting and visualizing, because again, this is all, you're using your fear-based brain. Your fear-based brain is saying, I don't have enough. I need more. I need more to be happy. I'm not good enough. I don't feel safe and secure. I need all of these things that I've been told mean happiness, like the happy family, the happy Thanksgiving, all of the stuff. I've got to have that to be happy because I'm not happy right now. So what's your brain is doing? It's locking you in your sympathetic nervous system state where it's all based on fear. But when you're in your creative brain, what you know is what it says in the Bible. Give no thought for tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Do not worry about what you shall eat, drink, and wear. It'll all be provided for you. Just like it is in the whole of nature. Nature lives in this abundance where everything, you look at a bird or an animal, it lives in harmony with its environment and everything is provided for it. There's no real stress and struggle. So once we understand that and we move to our creative brain does the job it's designed to do, which is to bring us everything we need to be the best that we can be, to be the happiest that we can be, so that we live the longest, to give, in other words, we have the greatest chance for survival. And that's not based on a goals list, that because your creative brain doesn't think in goals. It just says, I know what you want, even though you don't, if you like, because this isn't our thinking brain. Remember, this is the intuition, the creativity, the thinking of new ideas that you never thought of before. That's the part of the brain. And it knows how to bring all that stuff to you. So you don't need to worry about it. In fact, if you worry about it, you won't get it.
Well,
that's the way we're designed to work. And we know this is true because goal setting just doesn't, I ask this to people, well, just like I said to you, how many goals, if you're really honest, do you think it works? No, not really. But we're all told that's what you have to do. So we're all running around thinking, well, this is what I have to do. Nobody's actually getting anywhere with it. But because we don't know any other way to do things, we think, well, we're being busy and there's some virtue in struggle and striving for things. Well, again, that's not natural either. We're here to enjoy life, not make it a struggle. There's no struggle in nature. We're not supposed to struggle.
I'm so glad again that we've had this opportunity, because I know as the seasons change, at least in the past, I personally would look outside and go, this isn't my season, and I would just pray and wish for the next warm season to come about. And it's going to come about when it comes about. And that's what I finally have come to grips with this year. Let it just happen. Now, there's certain things that, yes, I may have more control over, but I don't have control over that it now gets dark at 5 o'clock in the evening. That's just the way it is. And I have to embrace that. And I think that is what can make more of us happy, by not fighting what is all happening around us, especially things like you said that we have no control over. The seasons are going to change. It's going to get cold here. It's going to snow. I'm going to have to walk on the ice. It's going to be dark early. But then again, the sun will start setting later and later in the day, and it will get warm again. So I don't have to only smile and be happy in the spring and summer. I can now.
Here's the interesting thing.
Yes.
Your happiness, is that dependent on whether the sun goes down and whether there's ice and snow, actually, or is it dependent on how you feel about it, what you think it means?
Right. Exactly.
That's what determines whether you're happy or not, because somebody else loves the snow. Somebody else goes, oh, I'm so looking forward to winter and the ice and the snow and the cold. I love it. What's the difference between them loving it and you not? It's just the way you're looking at it. It's just your perception. It's not the reality of what's going on. And when you start using your creative brain the right way, what you actually do is you start appreciating everything, including the things that you've labeled as problems. You don't see them as problems. You start to see them as gifts. Now, they might be uncomfortable. And of course, we all fall into this, we don't like uncertainty and fear comes to us. But really, that is still using our brain the wrong way, unless it's a threat to our survival, because our perception, particularly when we live in our creative brain state, you see the perfection of everything. And that includes the perfection of your own life. We mentioned before I lost everything. Well, the time was pretty stressful, but I look back on it, it's one of the greatest gifts, one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I learned through so much through that experience that I would never have learned any other way. So now I feel really happy and grateful for that experience. So what was the difference? Is the experience was the same, but my perception means that I can be happy and grateful about it. And it's the same with everything in our life. We can change our perception, not to make up some false sort of positive thinking type trickery on our brain, but to see the truth that everything is amazing. You know, it always puzzles me. Why aren't we the happiest people in history? Because we've got more abundance. Life is easier. Life is better. Life is more amazing, our experience, than it's ever been for anyone else in history. You know, you go back 100 years and you would say to people, you can talk to somebody on the other side of the world and look at them and make a connection with them and be talking to lots of other people at the same time. They can be listening to you. You can travel anywhere you like. You can press a button on this thing called a bench top and fresh water comes out. 100 years ago, or maybe a bit longer, depending on some things, they'd say, wow, if all of those things happened, I would be so happy. Life would be amazing to have those things.
Right.
But we're not happy, are we? We're miserable. Why is that? It's not because of what's happening. It's because of our perception, what we think it means, because we keep thinking. We've trained our brain to use it the wrong way, to keep thinking. I mean, it's not our brain's fault. It works in a certain way and we're just not using it the right way, but we're not satisfied. And we're not satisfied in this particular brain state because that's not designed to be satisfied. That's designed to find the danger and get rid of the threat. But when you move to your creative state, your awareness shifts. You know, some people call this enlightenment in the religious sense. But you don't need to be enlightened to live in your natural creative state. That's because that sounds sort of airy-fairy. This is a very grounded state that you're in because it's natural. But you see the truth about everything and you go, why is everybody getting stressed about that? Why are people worried about dying? Have they forgotten we're all going to die? You know, what is this?
Yeah.
And that's one of the most irrational fears of all, the fear of death, isn't it? Because we're all going to die. And not only are we all going to die, but if you to look at documented cases of near-death experience, you know, there's been more than 10,000 documented cases of people who've been to the other side of death, if you like. They've died and then the doctors have brought them back on the operating table or whatever. Nearly every single one of them has said exactly the same thing, which was, why did you bring me back? It was amazing on the other side. Oh, it was incredible. I didn't want to come back here. And religion teaches us there's this paradise beyond this earthly experience as well. So we know that's true, but we're still afraid of death. We're still running around acting like life is this terribly fragile, precious thing that you have to protect. And, oh, it's the world of danger. You know, I'm sure your listeners, I hope they can start to see this is all the workings of the false workings of the fear-based part of your brain. That's all it can see when you activate that.
Well,
but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I'm so glad we had this conversation because I'm feeling very creative right now, which I think is going to be very helpful going forward. I want to thank you for joining us again and, you know, sharing in a conversation that many of us might not even think about having. And, you know, for our listeners, listen to what Liam's saying, whether you agree or not, you know, try it out because that's what I've been doing this whole conversation. And it's like, you know what, if you stop worrying so much about the things that we can't, that we have no control over, I think life would be so much better. At least it would be for me. And I think I have a pretty good life right now. So thank you, Liam. I appreciate it. And come back and see us again. All right.
Thank you, Karen. It's been great talking to you.
Right.
Thanks very much.
Sure.